sant yàlla.
looy xaar utal Wave nga scan nga fay te nag doo ci yokku dara.
Jah Oil Company stands tall as a trusted name in energy, keeping the Gambia moving with service stations across the country and a commitment to innovation and reliability. In Farafenni, Jah Group is reshaping our industrial landscape. The Jah Oil Cement Factory can produce up to 100,000 bags a day, reducing imports, creating jobs, and building a stronger Gambia brick by brick. And in the heart of the Central River region, Jah Farming Initiative is cultivating food security. With thousands of hectares under development and modern irrigation, Jah Farming is turning the Gambia's soil into abundance. Jah Group is more than a company. It is a vision of self-sufficiency, resilience, and progress. The Jah Group of companies, investing in industry, agriculture, and energy, building the Gambia's future today.
In the Gambia, we all move to different paces. Time is money, convenience is power, and now both are in your hands. No more long lines, no more late payments, no more missed chances. Not anymore. Because now the Gambia has its own super app, Zap. One app, one tap, endless convenience. Send money instantly, pay your bills in seconds, shop without borders, pay your rides, order your meal, buy your ticket, deposit and withdraw money for absolutely free. No extra charges, no hidden fees, only on Zap Super App. This is not just convenience. This is confidence. This is the future in your hands. And the best part, Zap is born right here. Built for us, designed for every Gambian home, every Gambian dream. So don't wait in the past. Step into the future. Download Zap today on App Store and Play Store and enjoy endless free services. Call us today on our toll-free number 1666 or on 260-0001. Zap. All in one. All for you. Tap in. Zap in.
Welcome back. Dr. Usman Gajigo is our guest, a renowned economist who is also an important member of the opposition party promising a Gambia for all. In the first part of his conversation, he gave a surgical analysis of the presidential State of the Nation address delivered in Parliament last Thursday. Now, Dr. Gajigo recently addressed in writing Dr. Ismaila Ceesay and the Ministry of Information's proposed regulations on policy on the local media. Dr. Gajigo was quite forceful about the risks he sees in the draft framework. Let's turn to that now. Dr. Gajigo, you've described the proposed media regulation as taking the wrong lessons from the Jammeh era. I mean, what in your view is the core danger these regulations pose to press freedom and democratic accountability?
No, in the we're supposed to be in a transition period where after 22 years of dictatorship, we're supposed to transition into a democracy. Unfortunately, that transition has been, what's the right word? Maybe aborted. So even during dictatorships, we have elections. They were not free and fair. So when people talk about democracy, we tend to focus quite a bit on the election, happening. But even if elections now are free and fair, as opposed to when they were under dictatorship, there is still a lot to democracy, and that part accountability matters there. And one of the ways in which the citizens can hold their leaders accountable is by having a free press, a press that is not, that is not afraid to speak truth to power, a press that will uncover things that the government would rather hide. We all know what happened during dictatorships. We know the the FM. We know what happened to Dede Hydra. We know what happened to the independent newspaper. And the reason the dictatorship took those steps against the press was because the press, was going to, the role of the press there is to reveal things and inform the citizens so that they can hold the government accountable. So when you have regulations like this, they are very important because they go against one of the key requirements that you need in a functioning democracy, that is holding, having informed citizens who can hold their leaders accountable. That's the danger here of this regulation bill. Of this media regulation.
One of your strongest concerns is the requirement of journalists to register with PURA. From a governance and rights perspective, why do you see this as a step backward?
Oh, it is a major step. In a dictatorship, they'll simply arrest a lawyer or maybe kick you out of the court. Arrest a journalist if you report something that the government doesn't want. But in the case of here, what this government is doing, they know they cannot do those blatant things anymore. So they are looking for an underhanded way of doing that. Because the problem here, it says that every journalist, you have to register. Now, you could say nobody's been forced to register. But the regulation also says that if you're not registered, you cannot work for a regulated media entity. So effectively, this is going to bar people and decide who is going to be registered, who's going to be registered. Because if your registration is removed, since the government is the one that is going to determine who gets registered through PURA, then if your registration is removed, then you are effectively being barred from practicing journalism. So this is a step backward.
You also warn that the regulation would force certain social media users to register before publishing. What risks does this create for citizen journalism and independent reporting as well?
Oh, absolutely. It's one of the most serious parts I've seen here. Of course, there are many things here. Here again, it says, for instance, the registration, they must, all this, number one, the big problem here is the following. The threshold that is required for a citizen, let's say an individual blogger or an independent individual, the threshold that will make you, being forced to register has not been precisely defined. So this government can say tomorrow, okay, if you are monetizing your content, you have 10,000 followers, you must register. it can easily go and change that to 5,000. It is completely up to the discretion. So, and also they don't define what they mean by harmful content. Like when you just say harmful content, who can say they are against harmful content? Nobody's against harmful content. The devil is in the detail. What the government might identify as harmful content, might define as harmful content tomorrow, is anyone's guess. The government can, if I said today a minister has lied, the government can easily say, I am, using derogatory language on TV or on someone's Twitter or somebody's TikTok, and therefore that's harmful content, and force somebody to take that down. Because they didn't define what it's up to them to define what that is. So that's what here. This is one of the problems here. There's these ill-defined terms that tomorrow can be used in the way it suits the government. Yeah.
You also argued that regulations gives the minister wide discretionary powers over licensing and sanctions. Why is this problematic in a country still consolidating its democratic transition?
Yeah. If this were, initially when I saw this regulation, I actually confused it for a bill. I thought it was a bill because there were so many things here that gave the minister wide discretion. Normally when you see a regulation that comes after a bill, it will clarify many things. Talks about, where the legislative bill talks about sanctions to be met, registration requirement, let's say definition of, let's say, harmful or prohibited content. These things will be well defined in the regulation so that people know exactly what they are dealing with. Here, we have a situation where it is the minister who determines, what is a serious breach, what is a harmful content, serious and repeated breaches. These things, basically, the minister becomes a dictator that's sitting there and determining who is, who basically is, breaking the law and who is not breaking the law. Like I said, we are a country that is coming from 22 years of dictatorship. During that time, many journalists across many media houses were imprisoned, some were sent into exile. The last thing a government that is supposed to transition us from such a dictatorship into democracy, the last thing they should be doing is thinking of ingenious ways of restricting press freedom. They should be thinking of consolidating gains from democracy, making sure that freedom, actually, the press freedom that we are beginning to enjoy now is actually entrenched rather than, scale back.
The regulation obliges media houses to monitor their own content and comply with take-down directives. I mean, how might this affect editorial independence and the public's right to information?
No, it will basically have a chilling effect. You will have many, editors, journalists now, in fact, engaging in self-censorship, not out of some, well-founded reasons to have balanced and accurate thing. Journalists always, no journalist wants to be called, for divulging wrong information. Editors always check what they are publishing. And it's not as if we have that problem where it's such a huge problem of people publishing wrong information left and right that we need something like that. So when you have this sort of regulation, it creates this chilling effect. You will have, in fact, journalists or editors or proprietors turning down critics of the government because they wonder what measure the government might use in terms of imposing sanctions on them. So it will have a chilling effect. And when people start to self-monitor what they are going to say, you basically have started killing freedom of expression.
The government says these measures are about improving standards and combating misinformation. You say they are about control. What distinguishes legitimate regulation from political interference?
No, here I think we briefly mentioned that you have to look at these the vague languages that are in this regulation, where things should be clearly spelled out. They give this wide discretion to the minister. So you can see.
So that's the point of worry there.
Yeah, no, it's a major point of worry, and that's why it's a matter of control, not setting standards. It's a matter of control here, because harmful or prohibited content in a proper environment where that is really your intent to regulate some contents, you specify what are those contents. You go to other countries where these things are specified. Whether you're talking about things like abuse, things where they are abusive to minors, pornographic content, you specify what these things are. You don't just have a statement that says harmful or prohibited items. If you had it in a bill and then you say, okay, it will be specified in regulation, that's understandable. But all these vague languages, these unlimited powers and wide discretions are being left to the minister. This is why this is a matter of concern. It shows that it's all about control here.
You argue that the ban on unconfirmed reporting could cripple investigative journalism. Can you explain why verification works differently in investigative work compared to daily news reporting?
I mean, first of all, we have a lot to be thankful for investigative reporting. This thing on the Jammeh's asset, the Special Select Committee on the Jammeh's asset, the investigation by the National Assembly only started after the investigative reporting by the Republic. And we have right now we don't have a wide group of investigative reporting in the Gambia. It's a boarding field in the Gambia. There may be many, but I can think of only about 3 outlets right now. You have Republic, Malagan, and Askanwi. We hope that there'll be more, but this is a very boarding. It's a very nascent area in the Gambia, and they are providing, despite being very small, not well funded, they are providing very valuable service. And anything that the government is trying to do that is going to limit the ability of these news outlets, because investigative reporting is very risky. When an investigative reporter goes to a government office to talk to somebody else there, those people will be talking to an investigative reporter at the risk of losing their jobs. So very few of those officers will speak on record. So if you have to force those reporters to only report what is officially sanctioned, will there be any investigation of wrongdoing? Because most of the time when there is wrongdoing, people don't do it in the open. They do it behind closed doors.
Absolutely.
They do everything to go up. They don't leave traces or public records. They willfully want to erase records. So an investigative reporter has to find innovative means to get information. And if that these restrictions that are being put in this bill effectively wants to kill what investigative reporting does. So if the only thing the investigative reporter can report on is what the government publicly releases, or there'll be zero investigative reporting anywhere in the whole world. So this is something that is for all of us who are appreciative of what has been uncovered by these young investigative reporters. This is something that we should all be really concerned about.
From an economist perspective, how does restricting media freedom affect investment, governance, and the broader economic environment, in your opinion?
No, this is very. I mean, having a free press is very important for an economy. Normally, when we talk about the press and other, we tend to restrict ourselves to issues like, accountability, governance, freedom of expression. But all of these things, it's not a coincidence that in general, the more developed a country, the more you have press freedom. It's not a perfect correlation, but in general, this is the correlation. When you have a country where the press is free and they are free to report on wrongdoings, the economy does well. And the reason for this is simple. A free press keeps leaders honest, ensures that there is transparency, ensures that when there is wrongdoing, the wrongdoing those who will have an incentive to hide it, cannot hide it because the press will report on it, and those who are culpable will be tried by the relevant authorities. It creates investors' confidence that rule of law in that country, it will be upheld. After all, if you are an investor coming into an economy, you want to believe that should you have a contract dispute, which are very common, it will be adjudicated fairly without fear, without favor to anyone. So unless you have a press freedom that can do these investigations where they are needed, that can shine light where wrongdoers would like to work in secrecy, that can ensure that there is transparency. It's going to be very difficult to have investors have the confidence, or even your own citizens.
Yes.
Many people right now would be reticent to have contracts with the government because you wonder whether things will work as they are supposed to work.
If the goal is to improve media professionalism without undermining freedoms, what kind of regulatory approach would you support?
I think, again, this is one of those things where you don't even need to reinvent the wheel. There are already media organizations here. You have GPU, you have another one, I think, GOMA. Yes. So if your issue here is about standards, if it's about raising the standard of, journalism, like any other sector here, can benefit from improving standards. The thing is to work with these media associations, increase capacity, provide, in fact, government can provide financing or funding in a way to enable those media bodies to have their own training where they will hold other journalists accountable. Because, let's face it, who knows more about journalistic standards? Is it GPU or the Minister of Information? The capacity is among in that body, not in the government office. But here you have this government that a few years ago took millions of dollars and selectively chose media houses to pay and deny some orders. This was not an attempt to raise standard. It was an attempt to buy some houses and punish some. So a government that wants to really address standards, you work with the press unions and other media associations. They know more than anyone what their shortcomings are. There can be other bodies brought in to make sure that there is transparency, to make sure that the resources are used accordingly, to make sure that there is monitoring and evaluations and see what the results are. But the appropriate way is not through these regulations where you are doing this. You are basically restricting their ability to function and calling that standards. They're not fooling anyone.
Dr. Gajigo, that's all we had time for today. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Sant yàlla. looy xaar utal Wave nga scan nga fay te nag doo ci yokku dara.
Jah Oil Company stands tall as a trusted name in energy, keeping the Gambia moving with service stations across the country and a commitment to innovation and reliability. In Farafenni, Jah Group is reshaping our industrial landscape. The Jah Oil Cement Factory can produce up to 100,000 bags a day, reducing imports, creating jobs, and building a stronger Gambia brick by brick. And in the heart of the Central River region, Jah Farming Initiative is cultivating food security. With thousands of hectares under development and modern irrigation, Jah Farming is turning the Gambia's soil into abundance. Jah Group is more than a company. It is a vision of self-sufficiency, resilience, and progress. The Jah Group of companies, investing in industry, agriculture, and energy, building the Gambia's future today.
In the Gambia, we all move to different paces. Time is money, convenience is power, and now both are in your hands. No more long lines, no more late payments, no more missed chances, not anymore. Because now the Gambia has its own super app, Zap. One app, one tap, endless convenience. Send money instantly, pay your bills in seconds, shop without borders, pay your rides, order your meal, buy your ticket, deposit and withdraw money for absolutely free. No extra charges, no hidden fees, only on Zap Super App. This is not just convenience. This is confidence. This is the future in your hands. And the best part, Zap is born right here. Built for us, designed for every Gambian home, every Gambian dream. So don't wait in the past. Step into the future. Download Zap today on App Store and Play Store and enjoy endless free services. Call us today on our toll-free number 1666 or on 260-0001. Zap. All in one. All for you. Tap in. Zap in.